my channel. In today's video, we're going to do my Reading Rush wrap-up. I know the Reading Rush was a while ago. However, over on Twitter, I put up a poll asking if you wanted to see the Reading Rush wrap-up separately from the rest of my July one, especially since I read 10 books in the Reading Rush and 17 otherwise in July. And it was voted that they were going to be separate, which kind of works out for me because otherwise this would be 27 books in one wrap-up, and these ones would be kind of like shoved to the end and scrambled up with the other books. So this kind of works out for, you know, putting them by themselves, especially since I had a TBR that was by itself. I pretty much stuck to my TBR. I only didn't read 2 books on it, and they were the book with the non-human main character, but another book on my TBR counted for that, and the book that I was buddy reading with Garen, which was a book that had been on my TBR for a while, and another book that I ended up reading counted for that. It's a lot of rambling, but otherwise I pretty much stuck to my TBR. So let's just go ahead and get started, and let me tell you what I ended up reading for the Reading Rush. The first book that I read during the Reading Rush was Getaway Girl by Tessa Bailey. This was actually my first ever Tessa Bailey book, which was pretty interesting to experience. My first of during a week where I was vlogging. This book is about a woman who is coming back to town, and she's crashing her cousin's wedding, and basically her cousin's jilting the groom, and she ends up being the getaway driver for the groom as he's trying to flee, as he's trying to get away from his family because this is a small town and he is going to possibly be the next mayor. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. My romance reading kind of has a couple of tiers to it, and one of the things that gives a higher rating for me for romance is love interest likability, and the love interest in this one kind of was alpha male-y to me at times, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and the ending was not super plausible, so I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Next, I read an arc that I had gotten at BookCon, and that was Technically You Started It by Lana Wood Johnson. This is about a girl who gets a text message from Martin Nathaniel Monroe II, and you'd think you'd know which one, however there are 2 in her class, and this one claims he's the good one, and the story kind of goes from there. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. This book has on the page bisexual and demisexual representation. The main protagonist is demisexual, and the love interest is bisexual. You definitely will know more than the protagonist will, especially since this book is told entirely through text message format, which definitely hinders your reading. So if you're the kind of person who will get upset because you know more than a protagonist for a, you know, young adult novel, this one might not be for you. However, as a demisexual person, I definitely was rating this one a bit higher because I did see on the page representation for that, and it was a really fun read, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Next, I read Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Johnny Sun. This is a graphic novel about an alien sent to Earth to study it, and it kind of goes from there. It's very cute. It's got, you know, sad moments and happy moments, and it's kind of dispersed out. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's got kind of an odd pacing to it because of how it bobs and weaves between happy and sad, and I was kind of hoping there would be kind of more to it, so I only ended up giving this one 4. Next, I read Penance, which is a translated Japanese work, and until I learned during reading this that until 2010 in Japan, there was this 15-year limitation on murder, and basically after 15 years, if a cold case went cold, basically the murderer could go free. This follows 5 friends who encounter a man, and one of them ends up dead, and none of them can figure out who it is, and the girl's mother had cursed them, and the statue is starting to run up and stuff starts happening. And I ended up giving this one 4 stars. A spoiler for the other part of July, I ended up reading this another work by this author, which is the reason I picked this one up from the library, and I enjoyed that one more than this one, which probably says why I rated this one only a 4, but that one really messed me up. This one still has a lot of twists and turns, and it's really interesting, and it's fascinating. I ended up not liking one of the perspectives, so I ended up giving it a lower rating, and the ending is not super clear in a kind of, I would like a little bit more detail kind of way, but otherwise I enjoyed it and I gave it 4. This Howls Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This is about a girl named Sophie who basically is cursed and turned into an old woman, and she ends up finding Howl, who is a wizard. And that kind of is the plot synopsis. There's also a Studio Ghibli movie. This was for the movie challenge, and I ended up watching the movie as well. Basically, I ended up giving the book 4 stars. The movie and the book don't have similar plots, so if you've only seen the movie, the book will have a completely different plot. I really enjoy the book. It has some faults in the romance category, but my main problem with it is her transformation scene. I wish it was a little more clear. I had to reread it a couple of times to understand what was happening, and it just seemed congested, like boom, it happened. Next, I read another arc that I got at BookCon, and it's Truly Madly Royally by Debbie Regard. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. During my Reading Rush vlog, I was considering giving this a 4 or 5. I ended up settling on a 4. I was considering a 5 because I was really loving this romance. It has a very cute romance. This is about a girl who is in a summer program at a college, and she's kind of falls for the prince of a European country without realizing it, and stuff ensues. The reason I ended up giving this one a 4 over a 5 was there was a plot point at the end, and it just kind of seemed rushed at the end. This was the author's debut, and I'm definitely looking forward to more romances from her in the future because this is super cute. And I just really ate this book up, and this cover is actually a scene in the book. Next, I read Pride by Evie Savoy, which is a modern Pride and Prejudice retelling. I ended up giving this book 3 stars, which is kind of disappointing for me. I felt this book was expecting you to do the legwork and knowing more about Pride and Prejudice. I felt like the characters were kind of flat as a result, and therefore the romance was not as believable. The tension between them at the beginning of them not liking each other was super believable, but them getting together was not. Next, I read These Witches Don't Burn, which is another debut, and it involves witches, and it's got purple on the cover, so it hit all the challenges that I really needed that I hadn't read yet. This is about an elemental witch. She's trying to avoid her ex when at a bonfire an incident occurs, and all of a sudden she's thrust back into her ex's life by their kind of counsel, and the story kind of kicks off from there. I will leave my Goodreads review down below because I kind of was really frustrated with this book to the point where I gave it 2 stars. I don't want to say more than that. It's just, this book really frustrated me to the point where I just can't recommend it. I wanted a fun queer witchy book, and that's not really what I got. Next, I got my 5-star book, and that was Bloom. This book is about a boy whose family owns a bake shop, but he doesn't really want to keep baking for the rest of his life. He wants to move to the city and be a musician, and so he is trying to find his replacement for the shop, and his replacement comes along as this really cute boy, and it kind of goes from there. I really loved this. This is a book set in Maryland, and I love books set in Maryland, is kind of the theme that I'm kind of realizing. I loved the blue tones, I loved the baking, and the romance is believable, the characters are believable, and I just really enjoyed it, and I cannot recommend this one enough. And the very last thing that I read during the reading rush is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is about a girl who works in a magical library, and she is banished after she's blamed for something that she does not actually do. I'm not going to give you too many details, but there's sorcery, and it's just really fascinating and really fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 5 stars, and I cannot recommend it enough. And I really liked her debut as well, and I'm just gonna keep buying Margaret Rogerson books because they're really great, and I really recommend them. I don't know how to talk about books I really like. Moral of the story. So these are all the books that I read during the reading rush. Like I said, I read more books in July, so stick tuned for that wrap up. What about you? What did you read during the reading rush? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like what you saw here today, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a nice day.